In this lesson, we'll learn about the principle of arcs. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so animating with arcs can give you just much more fluid results. You can remove a lot of rigidness to your animation if you think about how things move in kind of a circular path. You can really kind of study really any kind of living creature, and we all tend to kind of follow a slightly circular path depending on what part of the anatomy you're tracking, okay? And so this is going to be something that can really kind of just, again, breathe another layer of life into your animation, much like I've mentioned with some of these other principles. It'll really remove a lot of rigidness. So we're going to kind of start off by demonstrating with this simple animation that I have here of this mouse turning his head. It's just 5 different drawings. And if I click play a few times, you can kind of see what it looks like. And so initially, to me, this makes sense, the action taking place. It's very clear and direct. I understand with my eyes that he's turning his head. However, it feels a little bit rigid. There is a drawing in here that I have placed that is kind of throwing everything off. And so you might take a moment and just kind of scrub through and ask yourself, which drawing could that be? While you're doing that, I've got a layer here titled Sketch. I'm going to turn on the visibility of that, and I'll click on this cell right here where I have that kind of arcing path drawn, and I'll also turn on onion skinning so we can see all the drawings for the mouse head. And so now it becomes very evident which drawing I probably should kind of fix or remedy. So you can kind of see the arcing path that our mouse head is following here based off of all of the drawings. And it's working pretty well with these first 2 drawings, and the last 2, it's that intermediary drawing where he's looking straight ahead. That doesn't really play well with this whole equation. And so that's what's kind of causing a little bit of rigidness. So what I would like to do is maybe tilt the head down just a little bit to kind of help it follow this arcing path. And so this is something you'll see with a lot of, animations. Just break out a video of an animated film and look for a moment where a character kind of whips its head around and kind of track maybe, the head, or maybe track the nose or a feature on the head, kind of see that path. What I'm going to go ahead and do is on this sketch layer, I'm going to start sketching out the head here underneath this drawing to kind of give you an idea of how I want this head to kind of be repositioned and kind of look. And then I'm going to pause the video, and I'll just kind of throw on some nice clean line work just so you can kind of see everything a little bit more clearly. And then we'll talk about what else we can do to improve the animation as we have it following this art. So I'm kind of thinking about the eyes. I may actually want the eyes closed to kind of get a nice blink in there. But basically, if you're turning the head, of course, you want to think about the angle of all the attributes. There's going to be kind of a change in the perspective of everything. But basically something kind of like that, okay, where that's going to work much more nicely. All right. What I'm going to do really quick is let's go ahead and take this mouse head turned layer, and I'm going to right click. I'm just going to clone this layer. I'm going to retitle it. We'll just call it mouse head arc. And then I'm going to take that drawing right there that we want to change. I'll just select it there, and I'll go ahead and just delete it. And then I'll take my sketch, put the nice clean line work over it, and then we can kind of compare both animations. Okay, so I basically have added some line work over this just so you can see it a little bit more clearly. And so now if I scrub through here, that just feels a lot better. Okay, and I'll go ahead and click play a few times. So I'm really liking how that looks. And again, if we turn on onion skinning here, you can see that we have just a nicer arcing motion. Okay, so we've really improved this very simple set of drawings that we're creating an animation with. And if you want, we can go ahead and compare the two. So here's the original. So you can see how that feels kind of robotic. and then we jump to the new one, and that feels a lot better. Now, there's something else that we can do, I think, to improve this. One thing I could do is kind of add a little bit of a blurring effect to this intermediary drawing. So what I might do is I'm going to take my cutter tool up here, and I'm going to go ahead and maybe select this part of the snout for the second drawing. So something like that. I'm going to hit Control C. Come over here to this drawing here, hit Control V. And let me take my selection tool now, kind of select that. And I want to kind of move it just a little bit. I want to kind of tweak it a little bit. What I'm trying to do here is kind of work it into this intermediary drawing here and kind of erase away just a little bit of it as well. So we can kind of create like a sense of kind of motion blur just slightly. And of course, kind of thinking about that arc path as well. All right. And then what I'll go ahead and do is I'll just kind of do the same thing. I'm going to copy that. Okay. And then I'm going to paste it. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go ahead and basically flip it. So we got this little flip horizontal button. And I'll just move that right over there. So just kind of a little added thing, kind of added bonus that I can kind of do to this to help kind of support this kind of arcing motion that we have here. And of course, again, kind of have that back up. I could probably bring that up just a little bit more. Let me go ahead and hide that just for a second. I'll bring that up just a little bit more right there. All right, that's feeling pretty good. And so now we can go ahead and click play. So that feels a lot nicer. All right, cool. Again, we can make another comparison. There's the original. Feels really rigid. And then there's our new one where we've really kind of considered that arcing path. What I'd like to show you now is just another example of how you can kind of track something using onion skinning to really see how an arc looks. So here we have this arm with a hand, and this is basically something we're going to use for another lesson when we're talking about overlap and follow through. But if you're kind of concerned about the fluidity of the animation, just turn on your onion skinning. And you can adjust your little blue brackets up here at the top, your little blue handles. But check this out. You can kind of see that nice arc that we have right here, the entire path to the animation. So if there's something that looks a little bit rigid to it, then you'll know that you need to kind of come in here and perhaps make some changes, okay? So this here is an arm that's broken into 3 different pieces. We have the upper arm, the forearm, and the hand. And so depending on how we've moved around and animated each one of those will affect the overall fluidity, and again, just kind of turn on your onion skinning for something like this with whatever character or object you're animating and kind of study that. This also comes back to our first lesson where I was talking about timing and spacing. If you go back and watch that lesson, you'll see again that I kind of had those 2 arc kind of paths that I'd drawn out for the bouncing ball that I was drawing to kind of follow. That way it just made better sense. It didn't feel like the ball was jumping from side to side in the air. So arcs are very beneficial and very helpful in just getting more fluidity out of your animation. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go on to our next lesson, which will be talking about just overlap and follow through. So stick around and we'll catch you then.